This is a 3D rolling menu, in which the options of menu are arranged in 3D circle, made using simple HTML, CSS and JavaScript. It can be rotated both forwards and backwards infinitely, just by scrolling over the menu, and as we can observe, the active menu item gets highlighted with a text glow effect. The menu can be aligned to the left, and also can be aligned to right as per your requirement. Join me as we delve into the code, unraveling the magic behind this unique menu. Let's dive in. I created a HTML file and included some basic tags like head, title, body. I also styled the body by setting its width and height to 100%, removed default margin and padding, and applied a background color as shown. I also included some link tags for the Google fonts. Next, create a center element which is just for visualization purpose. It contains all the other element. Next, create a menu element. Then add items element, which acts like a container for all the menu options. Next, add an anchor tag with class name as item, which acts like a link or option in the menu. We can see the link here. Next, add some more links similar to first one. This is the entire HTML structure. Next, we will apply styling to it. Start by styling the center element by setting its width and height to 100% and aligning its children to center using display flex. Then style the menu element by setting its width and height to 350 pixels and applying a background color similar to the body. I have applied a border to the menu element, which is just for visualization purpose. Now we can clearly see the size of the menu element. Next, style the items element by setting its width and height to 100% and position to relative. Next, style the anchor tags, that is the item element by setting its display to block, text decoration to none and color to white. Next, set its font properties. Then set its width to 100% and height to 40 pixels as shown. Then set text align to center as shown. Next, set its position to absolute and align the element to center by setting its top to 50% minus 20 pixels. As we have provided the height of the item element as 40 pixels, so half of it, that is 20 pixels getting subtracted from 50% of its parent height, will align it at the center of its parent element. Now we will arrange these item elements in a circle using JS. For that, open a script tag and initialize an array called items, containing the objects targeting all the item elements, and another variable called menu, targeting the menu element. Next, initialize a variable called increment whose default value is equals to 360 divided by number of item elements. 360 is the total number of degrees in a circle, and when it is divided by number of item elements, we will get the amount of distance at which each item has to be placed from one another in a circle. Next, initialize two variables called angle, which will be a default angle at which the first item element will be placed in the circle, and iterator helps in iterating over the items array. Next, initialize a for each loop over the items array. Then transform the each item by rotating it along the x-axis by the value of the iterator variable in degrees and translate in z-axis by 120 pixels. Then increase the iterator by the value of increment that we have calculated previously. We can see that the item elements got arranged in their positions, but they are not in 3D even after translating in z-axis. To fix this, set the transform style to preserve 3D and perspective of 1000 pixels for the items container. I have applied a transition and background and added a hover effect just for visualization purpose. Now we can see item elements being arranged circularly in 3D space. But we can observe the backside elements being overlapped with front elements. To fix this, set back face visibility to hidden for item elements. Now the back elements got hidden. We can see that there is lot of space between each item element. To reduce it, duplicate the set of anchor tags or item elements as shown. Next, we will set the opacity of these elements. To do that, create a function called findOpacity with parameters as angle. As we can see in the image, the opacity will be varying between 0 to 1. Opacity is 1 at 0 degrees and 180 degrees, and opacity will be 0 at 90 degrees and 270 degrees. We will try to achieve this in findOpacity function. For that, first initialize a variable called newAngle. Next, check an if condition, such that if angle value lies in first quadrant, then new angle is equals to angle. Else, if angle value lies in the second quadrant, then new angle is equals to 180 minus angle. Else, if the angle value lies in the third quadrant, then the new angle is equals to angle minus 180. Else, that is, angle is in fourth quadrant, then new angle is equals to 360 minus angle. Now we calculate the opacity. For that, we will convert the new angle to value between the range of 0 to 90 by performing new angle modulus 90. And then divide it by 90, from which we will get the complementary ratio of opacity. Next, we will multiply this ratio with max opacity, that is 1, which will result in complementary value of opacity. To get the original value, subtract that from 1. Finally, return the opacity. Now call the findOpacity function by passing the angle and set the opacity value to the item element inside the for each loop as shown. Now we can see the menu items are visible according to the opacity. Next, we will assign an active class for the element having its opacity as 1. Do it by checking an if condition and assigning the active class to the item element, and in else case set the class name just as item. Here is the code of for each loop, and this is the findOpacity function. Next, we will style the active class by setting the text shadow as shown. This text shadow will give a glow effect for the active item element. Now we will make this menu to roll when it is scrolled. For that, add an event listener to the menu element to detect the wheel event. We will use this delta y values of the event for scrolling the menu. The delta y of wheel event is a read-only property which is a double representing the vertical scroll amount in the wheel event's delta mode unit. We can see the values of the delta y being logged in the console as I scroll upwards. The value of the delta y varies based on the scroll speed. Next, initialize a variable called rotation whose value will be delta y multiplied by increment, and this is how it works. Currently our increment value is 20, and upon a small scroll, assume that we got the delta y value as 2, by which our amount of rotation will be 40. So the menu will be rotated forward by 2 elements. We can observe the rotation values being logged in the console. And as I increase the scrolling speed, we can observe that the rotation values are too high. Now we will add the rotation value to the default angle, and use the same for each loop that we wrote above. Paste the for each loop inside the even listener, and reinitialize the iterator variable with the updated angle as shown. Now we can see that contents of the menu are moving accordingly when the menu is scrolled. But we can observe that the movement is too fast even for the smaller scrolls. To fix it, we will introduce a threshold value, which means that until the delta y value does not reach the threshold value, menu won't get scrolled to next item. For checking whether the delta y has reached the threshold value or not, we will use a variable called accumulated delta y whose initial value is 0. To achieve this, sum up all the delta y value into the accumulated delta y, then start an if condition to check whether the accumulated delta y is greater than or equal to threshold value. And place all the below code inside the if condition as shown. But menu is still moving at the same speed. Next, in the calculation of rotation value, change the delta y to the flow value of ratio of the accumulated delta y and the threshold value. And this is how it works. Let's assume that the accumulated delta y has reached a value of 85, by which the if condition gets satisfied, and the flow value of the ratio of accumulated delta y and threshold is equal to 1, so the rotation value becomes just 20, which means only one increment in the menu. Then, before the end of the if condition, set the accumulated delta y back to 0. Now we can see that menu is getting scrolled slowly, and on increasing the scrolling speed, the menu is moving fastly. But we can observe that the backward movement is not happening properly. We can observe in the console that the forward movement is giving plus 20 at a time, but backwards movement is giving minus 40 sometimes, by which two items are being scrolled. To fix this, write an if condition, that is when the accumulated delta y is less than 0, replace the flow value with a ceil value, and when it is greater than equal to 0, use the flow value as shown. Now we can see that the menu scrolling happening perfectly in both directions. This is the entire function for the event listener. To make the scrolling happen smoothly, you can add a transition to the item element. Finally, remove the border for the menu, and your 3D rolling menu is ready. You can align the menu to right by changing the text align to right for the item element, and align the menu to left by changing the text align to left for the item element. If you find this tutorial valuable, then subscribe to the channel.